Cabin Creek Mysteries. The Secret of Robbers Cave. This is chapter 7, and the title of it is Mr. Welbeck. It was still afternoon when the cousins canoed back to their dock, towing the rowboat. Claire went home to finish her chores. The boys found a note on the fridge. Dear sons, please clean up your considerable mess from breakfast before leaving the house again. I love you. See you tonight, Mom. Your turn to load the dishwasher, Jeff told his brother while putting away the cereal boxes. No, it's your turn. No way, said Jeff. I helped Mom last night while you were drawing, remember? That doesn't count. There were 2 of you. I'm just one. But there's hardly anything here. David glared at his older brother. This was a regular debate. Okay, whatever, David finally said. He carried their plates to the kitchen, then set them on the floor. Tessie and Rascal were waiting for him as usual. Their tails were wagging. In just a few slurps, they finished the toast and jelly. When Jeff came through the doorway, he saw David putting these plates in the cupboard. Mom's going to find out the dogs did the dishes, said Jeff. She always does. That part always grosses me out a little because David let the dogs lick the plates and then he put them right back in the cupboard. Ugh. No, she won't. Will too. Nuh-uh. Well, if she does, we'll get grounded again, and what if we can't go to the island? Besides, David, it's gross. Just then, Claire and Yum Yum made their jingly entrance. Claire saw her cousins' faces. She could tell they were arguing about chores again. Our parents said we have to be home by dark, remember, she said, and I want to meet Mr. Welbeck. Without waiting for a response, she went to the mudroom for the broom and dustpan. She started sweeping the kitchen floor. Jeff came alongside his brother and opened the dishwasher. Here, buddy, he said, I'll help you load. Then we can get out of here. The cabin of Grumpy Gus was up a twisty road into the woods, a 30-minute walk from the boys' dock. He lived by himself with several hounds and a few sneaky cats. Since he didn't have a telephone, the boys took a chance he would be there. Howling from the hounds announced the kids' arrival as they hiked up the hill with their own dogs. The aroma of wood smoke came from Mr. Welbeck's chimney. He was sitting on his porch doing a crossword puzzle. His hair and beard were white. What do you kids want? He hollered as they approached. Claire glanced at the boys, then stepped forward to introduce herself. But instead of shaking her outstretched hand, Mr. Welbeck pointed to Yum Yum's painted nails. Since when did dogs start going to beauty parlors? After an awkward silence, Jeff decided to get down to business. Mr. Gus, sir, can you tell us more about the legend of Lost Island? He asked. Sonny, that island keeps its secret so tight, no one will ever learn the truth. But our dad made it sound like we could figure it out if we tried hard enough. Did you know our father? There's a picture of Mr. Welbeck sitting by his cabin. Know him? Ha! The old man set aside his puzzle and took off his spectacles. So he took off his glasses. He had the bushiest white eyebrows they had ever seen. He gazed toward the lake, his eyes serious. He drew a deep breath but didn't speak. The children were still standing. They looked uncomfortably at one another. After some moments, Claire whispered, Mr. Gus, are you all right? He turned to them. Where was I? Our father and the legend? Huh. Well, back in the olden days, he began. Here the kids smiled to hear his nickname. There was a stagecoach robbery in Cabin Creek. Folks say the thief was wearing silver spurs on his boots. He made his getaway on a fast horse, but not before he was wounded in a bloody gun battle. Sit down there, you're making me nervous. The cousins scrambled onto a small bench along the railing and squeezed together. They gave him their full attention, not wanting him to stop. Now, continued Mr. Welbeck, my great-great-grandpa was the famous gunslinger Gus Penny. Yes, I'm called Gus, too. He was also a sheriff, an honorable one. Anyhow, he and his posse searched all over these parts. Do you scallywag kids know what a posse is? They shook their heads. It's a band of good guys with guns who help enforce the law. Lots of small mountain towns still have posses these days, and they still carry rifles. Now, back to the story. So the Silver Spur Bandit disappeared. Some folks said he escaped to Canada. Others say he buried the gold on Lost Island, then probably rotted to death in a cave out there. The cousins were spellbound. Things were getting interesting. Do you know where the cave is? Jeff asked. Well, back when I was a boy, I searched and searched for it. Yes, sir. Found an old hunter's cabin, but no sign of the cave or any of the loot. He fell silent. Once again, his eyes seemed serious and sad. The children were quiet. Finally, David unfolded his map and handed it to Mr. Welbeck. Sir, could you please show us where you explored? The old man gave the drawing a good look. Then, without a word, he stood up and limped into his cabin. Through the window, the cousins saw him at his pot-bellied, wood-burning stove, where he opened a little iron door. He looked over his shoulder at the kids, then tore up David's map. He threw it into the flames. When Mr. Welbeck returned to the porch, he wagged his finger at them. If I were you, he said, I'd stay away from that island. It's been nothing but trouble around here. Understand? Jeff and David nodded. Claire scooped up Yum Yum and held her close to her chest. Mr. Welbeck leaned so close they could see his yellow teeth. In a low voice, he said, they don't call it Lost Island for nothing. So when I read this, I wonder what Mr. Welbeck knew about the island that the boys and Claire didn't know. He seems pretty serious about them not going back to the island, so we'll have to wait and see.